Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third edition of the Gurumantra podcast. And here is your Guru Charan Kumar. Today, we have a student guest speaker, and he is very special. Ojas Katiyar, who scored 41 points in the IB exam. Ojas was the Pathways Vertical Gurgaon head boy for the year 2022 and 23. Ojas is an intelligent, responsible, and personable young man. He is always quick on his feet with sensible reactions in all the circumstances. I have seen in the school, in many situations, how he handled everything on the maturity. I feel confident in saying that he handled any situation with thoughtfulness when he was the Pathways head boy. Ojas, welcome to the Gurumantra podcast, and please introduce yourself to our audience.
My name is Ojas Katiyar, and I scored 41 in the IB exams. And so my subject in university, at least the ones I'm majoring in, is financial mathematics and statistics. I got an unconditional offer from London School of Economics, which is in London. And when it comes to my hobbies, as a short introduction, I'm into debating, reading books, and actually doing like recreational math in my free time. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Ojas, we will start from your first TOK journey. Can you tell how did you select your TOK prompt and object during the grade level? What struggle did you face as a newcomer, and how did you overcome that particular object selection prompt in the grade level?
So one of the like the guiding things for my TOK objects and prompts, at least for grade 11, was that I realized that an object doesn't have to be a physical object or exactly. It's quite abstract in the sense that there's a wide array of things you can choose for it. So when you're thinking that you don't want to limit yourself to just like a physical object or something, and having this sense of being able to go into different things, like different abstract things as well, allows you to have a very wide selection of your object. So I think thinking about objects in that way helped a lot. And when it came to choosing the prompt, I think most of the prompts are quite open-ended in the sense that you aren't always constrained. Your objects don't get very constrained by the prompt, as there's a wide array of things you can do. So I think when it comes to the prompt, just choose something you're comfortable with. You just understand the prompt, and then the objects will just come to you. So you should think about it that way. That would be my advice. And when it comes to my struggles as a newcomer, I think the TOK, first of all, the word limit is something you should keep in mind when you're writing the actual commentary. But another thing is that you have to understand that the TOK is something which is very structured in the terms of in terms of IB. They have a certain curriculum or like certain criteria which they want you to meet. So thinking about your TOK in that way is really important for a better score. Yeah.
Brilliant. Can you share 2 tips based on your experience to score an A or a B in the TOK exhibition?
So I think being concise would be my first tip, because it's very easy to go on tangents and so in your commentary. So being concise and being very focused. So those would be my tips. Very vague, but still concise and focused. If you make sure that your sentences and so are just on the prompt, it's like it isn't that hard to actually get an A or a B, because your prompt is the only thing which you have to technically like meet. Yeah, like there is obviously some sentences you want on other criterias, but the main focus of your entire commentary should be just the prompt. So I think being concise and focused towards that is important.
Yes, that's a good point. Well, just now we move on to a grade 12 TOK essay. How did you prepare yourself to write A or B grade TOK essay? How did you prepare yourself?
Okay, so I think first understanding the themes of the TOK as well as the terminology is really important when it comes to writing the essay. And another thing, as with the commentary, the word limit is also something one should be mindful of. So yeah, those are like the 2 things which I made sure I was making sure and keeping in line. And when it came to the TOK essay, a structure is really important. Like if you don't have a structure, like a really strong introduction, a really strong conclusion, and in the body you're going through each of your examples and so really well, like you need to have that structure. Otherwise, it's really hard to get an A or a B. So structure is important when writing the essay. And another thing, at least for me, was that I started working on it very early during the summer vacations or a little after that, right, like in the 11th grade summer vacations. So that really helped me because it allows you to get feedback. And your teachers, I mean, even if they're new to TOK, even if they aren't, if they're really experienced, they can always just give you feedback. And having someone, even if they aren't the most experienced, just having some feedback is always better. So doing early is also something I would suggest.
So what the structure of an TOK is important. So can you explain more? Why is the structure of a TOK essay is important, and how do you approach the structuring your TOK essay?
Okay, so what I realize is that the introduction holds like a lot of like strength, in the sense that a lot of the examiners all around the world are going to look at the introduction and base a lot of how you are in TOK just off like the first few sentences, right? So you want to make sure you're just like right off the bat, you're being very focused about what you want to do, and also making sure that you're going into the area of knowledge not as someone who's a very like experienced in that, but talking about the area of knowledges, whatever they are, whatever prompt you choose, as you're explaining them to a new person who may not know them. So then making sure that your introduction is very strong that way. And when it comes to the body and conclusion, like anecdotally, I would say that I felt like making sure the examples, you're not tangentially explaining them, being concise, and making sure that you're just, if you pick an example, like I chose like a graph or something, you're just sticking to what the graph is and how does it actually link back to the prompt. Nothing about like trying to go more over and beyond that, because that really won't help you and you have a word limit. So yeah, I would say that focused as well. Yeah.
So now, what are some effective way to develop a critical thinking skill in IB, and that will benefit everyone, especially grade 11 and 12 students in the TOK?
Okay, so I would say that critical thinking, at least in the entire IB, has become like more and more important. Well, I mean, in terms of scientific subjects, you obviously don't need as much critical thinking, but when it comes to like any English as well, right? Critical thinking is just something which is what our IB is trying to go for, like it's trying to strive for that. So if you look at TOK, I think two ways I think I tried and practice and harbored my critical thinking were to discuss with my friends and teachers just ideas. It doesn't even have to be like, oh, just my essay, bringing up my essay. It just has to be ideas about what you think of a prompt and discussing that. And that helps a lot because first of all, you're expressing yourself way better. That is a part of critical thinking, and you're also gaining more input from your friends. So that's one way. And I would say reading, but like reading in the sense that just like doing some Google searches, maybe watching some YouTube videos which are a little bit on the topic or something. That always helps because it's giving you more inputs, and then once you get those inputs, you just start thinking about it naturally, subconsciously, and that is a big part of how critical thinking, at least in my experience, I developed for TOK.
Brilliant. Yeah. That's a two important. So Ojas, now tell me, what are the two common mistakes that a IB student should avoid during their TOK journey from your experience?
Okay. In my experience, I think, yeah. So in at least for the TOK essay, what I realized, at least for me, was when I was actually writing the essay, I didn't like sit down and just think about the prompt or the title, TOK title. And there was an assumption which I need, like in whatever my title was, there was something like very important that I needed to address in my essay. And making sure that you're really comfortable with the title is crucial. Like I realized that I wasn't addressing that, and then my teacher and my teacher and supervisors helped me out in telling me that, oh, okay, you're not addressing a very like crucial thing about it. So making sure that you're like checking all the marks when it comes to like the keywords, the assumptions which are already in the TOK title. Always make sure that you're checking all of that, and only then start writing. A lot of students might just go start writing because they think they know the prompt, but know the title. But it's often the case that isn't, you're not really familiar with the title. Just make sure you have everything you can know about the title. I would say, yeah, that would be like,
okay. Very good. That's an important thing everyone should learn from. So now, Ojas, now from TOK, we are moving to the extended essay. Before I go for the question, can you tell your extended essay subject a little bit about your research question?
Okay, so I did an extended essay in mathematics. A major reason for that is because I wanted to pursue mathematics, and that was pretty much why.
Fantastic. So can you tell what difficulty did you face while selecting the correct resources for your extended essay? Because mathematics extended essay is very vast. I know you must have gone for a lot of difficulty to finding the correct resources.
Okay, so my resources came down to a lot of like to some extent research papers done by a lot of other people. And when I say that, I'm not trying to plagiarize from them, obviously. What it does help is that it gives like the student or whoever's doing the essay very hard facts, and those are ones which are actually it's hard to repute them, like disrepute them. So then I think research papers are a really good resource, and the way you can search for them is using platforms such as JSTOR, and they usually have lots of very academic types, and you can what in an extended essay, at least it's like a really small bridge to what university level research papers would be. So using university level research papers and taking some information, just reading maybe like even a page or so, was something that I did a lot. And just understanding that page and trying to incorporate that information in my extended essay. So that's very specific to a student, but using very bits and pieces of research papers, like actual university level research papers, is a main resource I use, at least for a mathematics extended essay. Yeah.
So can you tell me, how did you familiarize yourself with the criteria for extended essay? What are method you follow to familiarize a criteria for extended essay?
Okay, so at least in my experience, I think over here also like structure came into play for me, because I realized that you really need to, like, when you're approaching a topic, if you're going for a research question, you have to make sure that the examiner is comfortable with it, right? And if the examiner isn't comfortable with what your research question is or what you're trying to do in the essay, it becomes really hard to score an A or a B. In my case, a B. So I think in that way, the criteria by now I've kind of forgotten them. But when I was doing my extended essay, I made sure I used a lot of citations, a lot of different resources, and having this diversity of research sources really helped in my meeting my criteria, I believe.
Okay, so as you said, critical thinking is important for TLK. I believe critical thinking is also important in extended essay. So what are some way in which IB students can develop a critical thinking skills in the extended essay?
Okay, so I think for extended essay, the critical thinking required is a little different, because when you're actually writing the essay, you don't, it's a research question, right? You don't want to give your personal opinions as much, at least in mathematics, you don't. You rather want to use information. And I think in utilizing that information, making sure what information you're using, how focused it is, how related it is to the extended essay is what you want to focus on. So I think a tip for that would be, whenever you're researching, whenever you're finding sources, whenever you're looking through the resources, you want to make sure that you always ask this question: oh, how is this related to my research question? And in doing that, that is a form of critical thinking. And it also makes sure that whenever you're writing the extended essay, you're always thinking about the research question underlying it, and how, it's linking back to the research question. So I would say just asking that question to yourself again and again would develop the critical thinking required.
I 100% agreed. So now, Ojas, you have taken the maths extended essay, which is a rare case. Students, they're actually scared to touch extended essay in maths. So can you tell me, what are the two mistakes that students should avoid during the extended essay journey?
Okay, so is specific to mathematics or just generally?
You can tell generally.
Okay, I think taking a subject that one's comfortable in, or at least has a passion is a hard thing to just say, because you're still in 12th grade or 11th grade, but something which that you would have done in your free time maybe as well. And I know that a lot of people aren't academically inclined always towards the subject, but you want to make sure that you're comfortable with the subject itself, because 4,000 words is, first of all, it is quite a lot, and as well as the fact that you're going to be researching a lot on that topic. So you want to make sure that you're actually happy doing all that research. So making sure you choose a subject which you're really passionate about is a tip I would give, or a mistake which maybe people should look to.
I agree. Passion is an important for extended essay. Now, can you share 2 tips to get an A or a B in extended essay for any DP students?
Okay, I would say this is also similar, but I know this, that during my summer vacation as well, I completed my extended essay. So that really helped me, because I could show it to my supervisor way before anybody else, and getting feedback on someone who has done extended essays and is a subject expert is really helpful, because it the initial mistakes which someone might make in an extended essay are all ironed out, and it's only fine tuning after that. So even if it's a really rough draft, just getting anything done right before really early is going to that tip is it's just really helpful for getting an A or a B. So I would say just doing it really early, trying to at least do anything a little early. Yeah, that would be my tip.
Time management is important. Now I have some general question which I want to ask. So what were the first 41 point in IB is not easy. I know how much your blood and sweat you have put it. Can you tell what were 2 methods you used in the last few months before the IB exam to achieve this 41 points?
Okay, so I think the main thing I realized was that I figured out what my weaknesses in my subjects were, like which subjects I'm the weakest at and which I'm the strongest at. So I'll be a little more anecdotal here and give my own like personal experience in history and economics. I didn't need as much as much time and effort to be put into as I did in like, let's say, physics and French. So understanding that weakness right 2 months before the IB exam made sure that in those 2 months I was spending like 70 to 80% of my time just fine tuning both of those subjects, just making sure that I can do as much practice papers, as many as much time I can devote to just doing those two subjects. So understanding weaknesses beforehand is one tip, and the other tip I would give is doing past papers. Past papers is just the best resource you can do, in my opinion, because even if you don't have a good understanding of a topic, let's say, if you do past papers on them, you just learn the technique itself. I mean, to some extent you don't even require the understanding. I know some people might say understanding is still required, but you can at least get like maybe 2 out of 5 points if you at least just know the technique being used. So just understanding the techniques by doing past papers is how I would that's another tip I would give.
Yes, past paper is important for the IB. Even I would also say, well, just now I have a very important question. I know you was a Pathways School head boy. As a head boy, how did you manage both academic and other school work to get a score this 41 magic mark?
Okay. I would say that I think I was able to manage my time really well. And that's because a lot of the coursework, which let's see, the coursework, which is apart from the board exams, is the extended essay, TOK essay, TOK commentary, and CAS kind of. I mean, that's done throughout the year, but still, I made sure that I did on IAs. Sorry, I forgot about IAs. And IAs as well for like all 6 subjects kind of. So doing all of that, really early, and, making sure that I was doing that before the deadline, made sure I had a lot of time for, studying and doing stuff related to the being head boy at school. So I think, time management, I mean, it's often said, but my point is that just doing a lot of the work early and finishing all the coursework before, so you can focus on studying and other things such as head boy duties was my tip, and that's how I was able to do it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Everyone should follow this one. So in your opinion, Ojas, what mistake should student avoid in DP1 and DP2 to score a good grade like you?
Okay. So I think a common mistake, at least I realized in the first year, was this is quite specific, but a lot of students took math AHL and they realize that they can't do it until like half of the year. And choosing subjects obviously is like, it's not that easy of a decision if you've never done it. But if you're certain about the subjects in the start, just the start of the year, and having no hesitation, being really comfortable with the subjects you're taking, it pretty much gives, I mean, it isn't a head start, but it gives you a really like smooth sailing after that, because then you're not struggling the first semester and then just trying to catch up the next semester. So just being comfortable with your subjects, making sure that whatever subjects you've taken, for a fact, if I do effort, I can do them. So I think being comfortable with the subjects is what I would suggest.
I will also add, comfortable with the teachers also plays a very important role, the subject. So how did you deal with your stress? I know how, it's not easy as a head boy and getting topper, and you are the day boarder. So how did you deal with your stress, especially from your personal experience? Please share.
Okay. So I think getting enough sleep is like one thing. I mean, it like, even if it was more like, I'll do studying for the amount of time I'm awake, right? Like I'll make sure that, when I'm awake, I'm studying, but I'll always give myself time to sleep, and sleep like as long as I want to. Because, if you give away your sleep, it really starts building up on you, and you can't be in this, machine mode, just, I'm sleeping for like 4 hours, 5 hours. You have to really get your sleep. So that's one way I dealt with my stress, making sure that, when I'm awake, I'm doing work, and, and then I'm giving my time enough to sleep and so. And the second thing is like just taking like 1 hour in a day, or like 1 hour and a half, to just watch Netflix, chill. Even if it is like right before an exam day, you still need that mental capacity, or like mental fortitude, and by like relaxing a little bit. And also, like, this is like a very small tip, but then I often had larger lunches, or whenever I'm eating, I'm usually resting as well, right, by like watching something while I'm eating, and that made sure that I was able to blow off steam during my meal, which is something I have to have anyways. So I was able to be economical that way.
Good. So Ojas, your last question, I want to know about, could you please provide 2 tips for a perfect college application for DP students?
Okay, I think yeah, like what I realize is at least for me, I apply to lots of regions, and just you in your free time, just going on college courses and just checking out, okay, what's happening, like what courses are there, what universities are there, and just like, I mean, if you're in DP1 in the first semester, just looking through them. Even you don't have to choose on a course, but just looking through them is really helpful, because by DP2 you are really like, you have to focus on DP2 and then college applications as well. So then it becomes a lot. And another thing is, if you're looking at the US as a place, they most of the time United States requires like the most essays and stuff. So if you are planning to go to the US, you should really like plan that before, because like I did like 41 essays just for my college application, and it's a lot of work, because you have to polish them. And so then if you're looking at the US, make sure that you have like a head start on it, start in the summer vacation, so that you don't have an additional stress. And another way to make your your college like better, at least for me, was making sure that I was very focused about my interests. Like, okay, I like mathematics, so this is what I've done. I've read stuff. I use it as my recreational. I do it in my recreational time. So being very focused that way was something that helped my college application, I believe. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Ojas, it's a brilliant conversation with you about your success, and all your experience will be a lesson for many DP students who want to achieve the high grades like. Ojas, your final words.
My final words would be just thank you, Guru sir, for doing this podcast. I mean, taking out my time out of this day wasn't that hard, but yeah, this podcast which you're doing for free for everyone is really nice. So yeah, I just wanted to give you a thanks as well. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Gurumantra podcast with your host Guru Charan Kumar. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into all the tips and tricks about the DOK and extended essay. If you enjoyed this episode, please like the podcast and share with others, post it on the social media, or leave with rating and a review. Thank you.